Today is a super exciting day for me. I've been waiting weeks and weeks. Today is tomato seed starting day. I'm so excited. This is the first year I have ever started seeds. Why are you laughing at me already? This is the first year I've ever started tomato seeds inside. So usually I go to a greenhouse. This is my 5th year gardening, but this year I decided to start my own tomato seeds. It's something that is way more cost effective and you can choose what you like and you have a much bigger selection. And there's just so much more than what you could get at the greenhouse. So I'm gonna show y'all a little bit what I'm planting this year. I bought all my tomato seeds from Botanical Interest this year. I have had good luck with their seeds in the past with other things, and their packaging is really pretty and they're very informative. So as a first-time gardener, when I first started, this was the company I gravitated towards because they have a lot of direction on the back. You open up this envelope inside and there's information about the plant that you're planting, when to plant it, how far to plant it apart, how big they get, when to sow outside, when to sow inside. So it's like a little education in each packet. So we have a couple different this year. I'm doing determinate and indeterminate tomatoes. And if you don't know the difference, a determinate tomato grows more like a bush. They might get 4 feet tall. You can use like a tomato cage on those. They produce all their fruit within the span of like 1 to 2 weeks. Interdeterminate tomatoes will just grow and grow and grow until you have a frost. So here in Tennessee, I like those tomatoes because our last frost doesn't come sometimes till late October. So I can get tomatoes starting from like June, July, all the way through October because we have a long growing season here. So we have a bush tomato. This is just a small tomato, probably like, I don't know, it could fit in the palm of your hand. My daughter really loves these. They're really good to eat fresh out of the garden. I always try to think of plants that my kids can grab right out of the garden. It makes memories for them and it's just something magical to be able to go out in the garden and pick something for a snack. This is one of my all-time favorites. I have little sticky notes on here of how many I'm gonna plant. This is just a traditional like beefsteak tomato. This is gonna have a lot of juice. These are really good for like a big old tomato sandwich. And this is what I will can my tomato juice with. They are so delicious and so fun to watch grow because they get huge. Another one of my favorites is a Romo tomato.
This is a Romo tomato.
This one is good for salsa. You're not getting as much juice. And this is a determinate tomato. So I will get all my fruit within like 1 or 2 weeks. And this will get canned out for salsa, pasta sauce, things that you don't want a lot of juice in. And we have, this is the new one I'm trying. It's called Ace 55. It was recommended for canning. It's an heirloom tomato, so I can save seeds from this one, which is something new that I'll be doing this year, saving my own tomato seeds. That's exciting. This one just looked fun. You can plant a cherry tomato. It's called Cherry Falls. You can plant it in a planter that you can hang, and it kind of cascades over. And then we also have, this is one of my favorites. It reminds me, my grandmother always grew yellow tomatoes in her garden. So this one's kind of, I grow from memory, and the taste is really yummy too. Yellow tomatoes do have their like mild and low acidic flavor. So they're not as acidic as like a red tomato. My daughter actually prefers these over like a red tomato. So that's kind of what I'm planting. And this is the planting method that I decided to do this year. I bought a 72 cell tray. This is just from Home Depot. We can link that below for you guys so you can get your own if it's something. A lot of garden stores will sell these as well. For potting soil, we just have a potting soil mix that is for seed starting mix. You want it to be light and airy. So you don't want to compact, like you don't want to push down your soil when you're doing this. You want the soil to stay light and airy. Now because I don't have a ton of light in this room, we did set up grow lights this year to start our seeds, and that will give it what they need to get healthy and strong. And we're gonna give this, actually I wanna move my seeds because if your seed packets get any kind of moisture, they can make your seeds go into germination mode. We don't want that unless we want them to. So we're gonna water this up top here. And this also, I bought a bottom tray with this. And so I will bottom water this after this first initial pouring water on the soil. I will put water in the bottom here and let the plants drink it up from the bottom. You always want to make sure that you have a good marker for your plants. I just got popsicle sticks. This is easy and effective. There's my daughter's, those are for her garden. And I went through and I decided what I wanted to plant and how many. And so I would just put the name of the tomato and then ×2. However many plants I was doing, you know, that's how many I would write on here. You can also buy like bigger ones. The dollar store sells these kind of markers, and I think they're like $1 a pack for 10 of them. All right, so I'm gonna put my markers in first. And this says ×6, we'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start the next one here. Golden Jubilee, we're doing 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. Cherry Falls is 2. 1, 2. All right, so then Ace 55, I'm doing 2 of those plants. 1, 2. Romo, I'm doing 2. 1, 2. The rest of the cells, I am going to start some of my lettuces and basils as well. But first, we're focusing on tomatoes right now. Starting with beefsteak, when you open this little plant or packet, what I was saying is if you rip this open, it gives you tons of information on this plant. So the tomato seeds are sealed in here to make sure there's no moisture or anything that get into them. And it's always helpful, I have found, to get a little dish and put the seeds in. That way you don't lose any on the soil that you don't want to plant. It's much easier to grab them. And we're just gonna stick them on top. And I actually am going to plant like 2 or 3 in each cell. That way I at least get one that germinates. And tomatoes are really easy to divide. So when I go to transplant them into a bigger pot, I can just pull them apart and I'll have multiple plants I can give away. All right, and as a rule of thumb for seeds depth, it'll always tell you on the seed packet how deep to plant them. But if you get a seed packet, maybe it's passed down, there's not instructions on it. A general rule of thumb is you always want to go twice as deep as the actual seed. So this is not very deep. So I like to use an eraser. That way you can push them in, they don't get stuck to your finger. And these basically, they just need to like touch soil. They don't have to go very deep. Tomato seeds are very tiny. We're just gonna cover them. See, grow, babies, grow. I definitely am one of those plant ladies that talk to her plants. This can be a super, just kind of like a Sabbath moment too when you're planting seeds. There's something about putting this tiny seed in the ground and it grows in due time with enough of nutrients, has the right conditions, and it's properly cared for. It'll grow into a tomato plant that bears you hundreds and hundreds of pounds of tomatoes. I think the average, like one tomato plant can produce up to 25 pounds of tomatoes. I'm gonna do the rest of these, and then once I have everything planted, what I will do, just kind of show you guys too, is I will fill this bottom tray here with water. And then once they're all planted, I will set it in here and they will pull up the amount of water they need, and then I will dump the excess water off in about no more than like 2 hours. I don't like to let them sit too long. And then whenever the soil, if you touch the soil and there's like a lot of soil sticking to your finger, it's usually pretty dry, and so you want to water it. So we are gearing up for garden season. It's an exciting time of year. For gardeners, we have tomatoes and basil and lettuces planted, and it's gonna be a good year. And my encouragement and tip to whoever may be attempting their first garden this year, or maybe you attempted a garden last year and it was flop, and you feel overwhelmed, you're like, I'm never doing that again. Don't give up. My first garden looked like a jungle. Don't give up on gardening, right? Keep going. And every year I learn something new, and I don't think that you ever stop learning in gardening. That's the fun of it. View the garden as a classroom, and whatever you failed at last year, learn from it. Don't let it get you down. Let it propel you forward. So I hope you have a great gardening year. If you're planting seeds, have fun. If you've never done it before, try it. We'll link some info below to help you guys get started.